Now, WMUR News 9 Tonight.
Now at 11, Hurricane Dean still making its way through the Caribbean islands and sending tourists fleeing for safety.
As Hurricane Dean passes Jamaica, it's got its sights set on the Cayman Islands and the Yucatan Peninsula.
And Tropical Storm Erin swamps homes in Oklahoma, leaving residents trapped. What happened during one dramatic helicopter rescue? Senator Barack Obama hits New Hampshire once again and faces tough questions about his level of experience. Officials in Utah concede 6 trapped miners may never be found. The reaction from family members tonight. And it's welcome home for the owner of a Temple Inn, finally back on track after facing some immigration problems. Good evening. Breaking news off the top tonight. The baby born earlier this month after a fatal crash that claimed the life of her mother has also died. The newborn Rachel Stanley was born at Parkland Medical Center in Derry back on August 8th, then transported to Mass General in Boston. We have confirmed she died tonight just after 6 p.m. Her mother, 24-year-old Tanya Wells, had gotten into an argument with her boyfriend and got out of his moving pickup truck on Island Pond Road in Derry and was then crushed by the back wheel. Wells later died from her injuries. No word tonight if any charges will be filed. Our other top story tonight at this hour, Hurricane Dean is plowing into Jamaica as a Category 4 storm packing 145-mile-an-hour winds and dumping torrential rains. Tourists on other islands in Dean's path are packing up and hoping to make it home before the storm arrives. And the storm could strengthen before arriving in the U.S. in just a few days. We do have live team coverage for you tonight, and we begin with Paul Mueller, who has more on the storm's path of destruction. Paul.
Korea, the powerful Category 4 hurricane has already killed 8 people on its destructive path in the Caribbean. Government officials from the Cayman Islands to Texas calling for evacuations, while tonight the people of Jamaica dealing with the devastation after that island takes a direct hit.
Can you see the eye?
The view from space as Hurricane Dean churns through the Caribbean. The Category 4 hurricane lashing Jamaica Sunday with 145-mile-per-hour sustained winds. The torrential rain is expected to dump up to 20 inches of rain on the island. Jamaica taking a near direct hit with Dean's eye passing just to the south Sunday night. This as the Prime Minister makes a last-minute plea for people to abandon their homes and head for the more than 1,000 shelters set up.
Do you think you're ready?
Well, yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Officials may be ready, but most residents ignore the call, afraid to leave because of the possibility of looting.
I still trust God. I trust Him to take care of us. I'm not going to no share. You're not scared? I'm not scared.
Authorities cutting power on the island to prevent damage to the electrical infrastructure, while police sent to commercial districts to prevent looting and enforce curfews. Meantime, officials at the National Hurricane Center projecting Dean will reach a powerful Category 5 hurricane with sustained winds of 160 miles per hour before crashing into the Cayman Islands on Monday and Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula after that. And in the Cayman Islands, thousands of tourists there evacuated. The same situation in the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, and the cleanup continuing tonight in the Dominican Republic and Haiti. All this as Dean marches westward with more destruction in its path. Reporting live, Paul Mueller, WMUR News 9, Korea.
Thanks, Paul. One of Mexico's most popular resorts is in the path of Hurricane Dean. Cancun could be hit tomorrow or Tuesday. Tourism officials say they expect to fly out some 75,000 tourists by tomorrow. Thousands have already left, packing the airport today.
We came yesterday into Cancun to go to the Mayan Palace on our honeymoon, and they told us we can't check in, so now we have to go home back to New York tonight at midnight.
The last hurricane to ravage the area was Wilma 2 years ago. Following that storm, looting became a problem on the streets of Cancun. This time, the government is thinking ahead and has already ordered 300 additional troops to patrol the streets. Here in the U.S., FEMA is warning residents of South Texas to get ready to get out. Forecasters fear Hurricane Dean could become a powerful Category 5 storm by the time it reaches the Gulf of Mexico. FEMA Chief David Paulison says it's not a time to be complacent. He says 1,300 buses are in place in San Antonio to help with a possible evacuation, along with hundreds of planes and helicopters. And for a check now of Dean's path, let's turn it right over to meteorologist Bill Guile. Bill.
All right, Kriya. Well, actually, the very latest information having come in just the past 10 minutes, and a brand new course and strength of this storm. We're going to take a look at that. But right now, if you're plotting it, here is the latest on Hurricane Dean. It's located at 17.6 north and 78.8 west, moving to the west at 20 miles an hour, packing winds of 145 miles an hour. It's now passing the island of Jamaica. Now, as it moves through the southern Caribbean during the course of the day tomorrow, it should reach Category 5 status with 160-mile-an-hour winds. And then late Monday night into early Tuesday morning, making landfall south of Cancun, perhaps somewhere around Cozumel, and then reemerging in the southern Gulf on Tuesday midday, but a much weaker form. We're now seeing a Category 1 expectation by the National Hurricane Center, and then when it hits landfall again, now looks like a little further south than earlier this evening, which is great news for the folks in the United States. We could be seeing it as more of a Category 1 or maybe a week 2 by the time it makes landfall in Mexico. That's the latest projections. Of course, these things can adjust a little bit with time, so obviously stay tuned for the latest updates. Coming up in a little bit, we're going to take a look at your latest forecast for the week ahead.
All right, Bill, thanks. Of course, Hurricane Dean could have an effect on gas prices. Futures rose today on news that the storm could move into the Gulf of Mexico, which produces roughly 25% of the United States oil and 15% of its natural gas. AAA says an impact on refineries could have a ripple effect at the pump.
Generally speaking, if the storm has any kind of impact on refineries or platforms, meaning that the platforms get shut down or damaged, or refineries get shut down or damaged, or they have some transportation delays in the Gulf, we'll probably see a corresponding price increase in the aftermath.
Out in the Gulf of Mexico, where there's absolutely no protection, the government is evacuating 13,000 oil workers from the oil rigs there. So far, Granite Staters are not seeing any impact at the pump. Right now, prices on average are running about $2.72. That's down about 20 cents from a month ago. The national average is $2.76. What's left of Tropical Storm Erin has swamped homes and highways in Oklahoma. Flash floods ripped through neighborhoods, leading to some dramatic rescues. Take a look at this. During an attempt to airlift one person to safety, the victim actually fell. You can see there the chopper went back around and was able to get the woman again and bring her to higher ground. More than 7 inches of rain fell in some places. And we will continue to track Dean on our website. Plus, you can take a look at the forecast. It's all at WMUR.com. A homeless man riding a bike in Portsmouth was killed after colliding with a car. Police say 35-year-old William Hoffman rode into a car driven by 18-year-old Christina Demers. It happened in front of McDonald's on Lafayette Road. Police say Demers was turning into the restaurant when Hoffman ran into her. He was not wearing a helmet or headlamp and had dark clothes on. Hoffman was airlifted to a Boston hospital where he died from his injuries. So far, no charges have been filed. Police would like to hear from any witnesses. And a passenger in a car was killed today in Littleton after the vehicle collided with a moose and then a tree. Police say the station wagon hit a moose on I-93 and then went off the road, striking a tree. The passenger, 28-year-old Amy Perkins, was pronounced dead at the scene. The driver is being treated for non-life-threatening injuries. A 2-alarm blaze in Wolfboro destroyed a garage, and luckily, crews were able to keep the flames from the attached home. Everyone got out of the house safely. Firefighters believe the cause is accidental. 5 surrounding communities assisted Wolfboro. Relief and gratitude tonight from a local innkeeper who thought he'd never be allowed to return to his business. After weeks of waiting in his native England, officials told Andrew Cook they wouldn't renew his U.S. visa. But he says friends and local lawmakers pulled through.
From the looks of this celebration, you'd never know the last 6 weeks have been agonizing for these 2 innkeepers.
Total loss, total frustration.
Nearly 2 months ago, Andrew Cook went home to London to get his U.S. visa extended, but the U.S. Embassy said no.
To start with, it was numbness because I really couldn't believe what had happened because we really felt it was a formality.
U.S. officials were concerned that Andrew and his partner, Nick Finnis, weren't bringing in enough money at the Birchwood Inn, questioning the legitimacy of their business.
That was the hard thing, is that the community believed in us. We believed in them, what we were doing was right,
In fact, weeks ago when News 9 interviewed Finnis, it was clear he thought Cook may never be allowed back and that he, too, may have to leave the inn.
I'm scared of having to go back to England, and I just want Andrew back here.
But both New Hampshire senators got involved, putting political pressure on the U.S. Embassy in London, and now Andrew is back.
This crisis has really pointed out to us, like nothing else, how important it is that this business stay where it is and that Andrew and Nick be a part of our community.
We needed them, they needed us. I don't think we quite realised how much of an effect we've made and how much they've made on us as well. It's a very humbling feeling.
Nick Finnis will head to the UK next month to renew his visa. He says he doesn't anticipate any problems. Optimism fades in the search for six trapped miners. Coming up, the mine's co-owner admits the men may never be found. The families express anger and say enough isn't being done. On his latest trip to New Hampshire, Democratic heavyweight gets some questions about his young experience.
And we will have a couple of unseasonably cool days ahead, but don't worry, the summer muggies will be back.
And in spite of the muggies, it might be August, but things were pretty frosty atop Mount Washington. A closer look at this unusual weather.
Caravan.
Lessons of the deep following a soldier's watery journey through scuba school.
It's been called Concord, Chiswick, Gunthwaite, Lisbon, and Sugar Hill. I'll tell you the story.
On the next New Hampshire Chronicle.
Monday night at 7:30.
A grim anniversary today for the Colbrook community. It was 10 years ago that Carl Draga killed two state troopers, a judge, and a newspaper editor in a dispute over property rights. The 67-year-old was later killed in a gun battle in Brunswick, Vermont, after wounding 4 other law enforcement officers. Draga gunned down troopers Leslie Lord and Scott Phillips in a supermarket parking lot. He shot part-time judge Vicki Bennell as she ran for her life, and then killed editor Dennis Juice, who tried to wrestle the gun away. Before he went on the rampage, Draga set his house in nearby Columbia on fire. In Utah, rescuers have lost nearly all hope of ever finding 6 trapped miners. A co-owner of the mine says it's likely the men may not be found. A 4th hole drilled in the mine found air quality too low to sustain life. Crews will now drill a 5th hole. On Thursday, the underground rescue operation was suspended indefinitely after 3 rescuers were killed in a second mine collapse.
But I can't say with certainty that we will be able to continue the underground efforts. We, again, just simply cannot expose additional life. The risk is too great, and we just simply cannot take the unacceptable risk and put additional lives in harm's way.
Tonight, relatives of the 6 trapped miners are accusing federal officials and the mine's owners of quitting on the rescue effort and leaving the men for dead. The families are demanding that rescuers immediately begin drilling a 30-inch hole into the rescue capsule that could be lowered down. On the primary watch, Democratic heavyweight Barack Obama on the seacoast today and facing some tough questions from voters about his experience. The senator started his trip at a patio party in Portsmouth. He met with more than 100 invited voters who asked him about civil unions, the war in Iraq, and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. His appearance in Portsmouth came just hours after wrapping up a debate in Iowa, where his challengers questioned his level of experience.
How much experience does a presidential candidate need?
Well, I think they've got to have strong life experience. And what the American people really want is good judgment.
The senator says he showed that good judgment by opposing the war in Iraq from the get-go. This is a 3-day trip to New Hampshire for Obama. He'll start his day in Exeter tomorrow. And just before arriving in New Hampshire, Obama was one of the Democratic presidential hopefuls to take part in a debate in Iowa this morning, seen right here on ABC's This Week with George Stephanopoulos. As ABC's Yunji Denise tells us, each candidate tried to put forth their ideas without stepping on each other's toes.
Right over here, we got the James here.
This week, Senator Barack Obama took his campaign to the Iowa State Fair. Good groundwork, he said, for today's debate.
To prepare for this debate, I rode in the bumper cars at the State Fair.
But the candidates were much more complimentary than confrontational.
I think we have a great group of candidates.
They try to distinguish themselves on the Iraq War, each laying out an exit strategy. As he has in the past, Senator Barack Obama said he's one of the few who was against the war before it started.
The thing I wish had happened was that all the people on this stage had asked these questions before they authorized us getting in.
Senator John Edwards pointed out any one of them would end the war. The real distinction is a party one.
The differences between all of us are very small compared to the differences between us and the Republican candidates, who, the best I can tell, are George Bush on steroids.
There was no clear winner, and for now, the gloves are still on.
I think we saw a number of different people make their moves, but really some real tentative nature among the candidates that was a bit surprising.
The Democrats will meet for at least 8 more debates like this one. Several campaigns have complained that there are too many of these forums, cutting into critical campaign time. Senator Barack Obama's campaign will now limit the number of debates he'll participate in, and other candidates are expected to follow suit. Youngie Denise, ABC News, Des Moines.
Space Shuttle Endeavour undocked from the International Space Station today, one day early because of Hurricane Dean. The shuttle will be returning Tuesday instead of Wednesday. A final inspection was also done today to make sure the shuttle is safe for re-entry. NASA decided not to repair a gouge in the shuttle's belly that was caused by foam during launch. Well, the record's high today at the Mount Washington Observatory. A frosty and foggy day, believe it or not. Just looking at the Mount Washington summit sign, you'd never guess it was August. It still may be summer down here, but at the summit of the mountain, the scientists say it was a freezing 29 degrees between about midnight last night and 6:30 this morning. The last time it was that cold on August 19th was back in 1958.
Yeah, this is summer on Mount Washington, I guess. You know, it's certainly not something that's common during the summer, but it's also not unheard of. We've recorded snow at any month during the year throughout our 75-year history.
And yesterday was also a chilly one, almost a tiebreaker at 29.9 degrees last night.
Now, your Stormwatch 9 forecast.
And they're looking at very similar conditions once again tonight. Check it out. Already atop Mount Washington, it is 32 degrees and looks to get a little bit colder. Berlin has dropped down to 40 and Whitefield at 42. Further to the south, temperatures not quite as chilly, but they are cooling down fairly quickly in some of the smaller towns, some of the sheltered ones in low-lying areas. Jaffrey and Keene into the upper 40s right now, but the city is still holding in the heat from the day. 57 Manchester and Portsmouth at the seashore, looking at 55 degrees. Now, here's a look at the national temperatures, and the warm or hot, humid air is still to the south. In the meantime, we are enjoying some nice Canadian refreshed air, and that's going to continue to be the case for a couple more days. There have been some strong storms and areas of heavy rain along the boundary between the cool, dry air and the warm, humid air, and that has caused a lot of the heavy rainfall to move through the Ohio Valley and into Pennsylvania. That's still being deflected. It cannot come at us because of high pressure just to our north and west. And here's this little area of rainfall down through Oklahoma finally weakening. That is what's left of Tropical Depression Erin. Now, here's a closer inspection, a little closer to home. You can see the satellite and the radar imagery showing the clouds from this afternoon melting away as the sun started to go down lower on the horizon. And it was a great chance for those of you to go out this evening and view the International Space Station and Endeavour. Talked about it this evening, and we had many calls coming in this evening. You saw 2 bright lights going by in the sky. Yes, indeed, it was the 2 separate vehicles, the space station and Endeavour. Remember, they separated this afternoon, so you got the chance to see them both following each other in the evening sky tonight. There's another chance tomorrow night, but it's going to be very low on the horizon, around 9:29 tomorrow evening. You might get a chance to see it. Tonight, mainly clear and chilly now. Readings dropping to the mid-30s in the far north. In fact, there's a frost advisory up in this location, settling down to the mid and upper 40s as you get down through the Merrimack Valley. Then as we go into tomorrow, mainly sunny skies, northern half of the state, temperatures in the 60s, but south of the lakes region, we could be seeing some clouds around. There'll be a little system dropping just to the south of New England, and its northern cloud shield should just clip southernmost portions of New England. High pressure, again, blocking all the wet weather from coming at us. So a chilly start to the day tomorrow morning, but we recover into the 60s and low 70s for tomorrow. And then the high pressure area starts moving off to the east, and that eventually is going to allow warmer temperatures to come our way, and also eventually more humid air. That starts moving in as we go into Wednesday night and on into Thursday and Friday. So Wednesday's highs topping off into the upper 70s, near 80 degrees, and then the summer muggies come back our way for Thursday and Friday. We're talking mid to upper 80s, maybe near 90 degrees by Friday. There we go. We're back to summertime conditions. Also Thursday, a threat of a scattered, isolated shower. Same story for a thunder shower on Friday.
But we've got more sun than rain, and that's what we want to hear.
Yeah, nice dry stretch for a while.
Okay.
Though. Yes.
Thanks, Bill. We do want to issue a correction on a story. The name of the passenger killed in a Littleton crash has not been released as we originally reported. The driver is 28-year-old Amy Perkins. She remains hospitalized with non-life-threatening injuries. All right, Jason, what's going on in the sports world?
Well, the Red Sox and Angels closed out their series at Fenway Park this afternoon. The Sox trying to take 3 out of the 4, and the Angels trying to earn a series split.
He'll score the Red Sox. Now, Jason King and News 9 Sports.
Well, the Angels were able to earn a weekend split with the Red Sox, taking the final game of their 4-game set at Fenway Park today. Julian Tavares made the start for Boston, got in trouble early, top of the first. This is Vladimir Guerrero, a shallow single to left field, and Sean Figgins waved around play at the plate close, but not in time. 1-0 Angels in front. Same inning, Casey Kochman looks like he's going to put a 2-run shot on the board, but great catch by Bobby Kielty, just called up from AAA Pawtucket a couple days ago, and he robs Kochman of a home run. Top 2, Mike Lowell with some nice defense of his own. Nice diving stop at third and gets Ryan Budd at first base. Nice stretch by Kevin Euclid as well. Top 3, things get interesting. Tavares hits Orlando Cabrera with the pitch, and Cabrera takes offense to that. He has some words for Tavares. The benches would clear, but nothing really came of it. Cooler heads prevailed. No rejections or anything like that. The game went on. Joe Saunders was the story for the Angels. He went 7 2/3, struck out 7. In the top of the 7th, the Angels get some insurance. Kyle Snyder's pitch gets away. Casey Kochman scores 3-0 Los Angeles. But in the bottom of the 8th, Sox finally get on the board. Michael Lowell with an RBI single off the wall. David Ortiz scores, but that's as close as they got. Angels win it 3-1 the final. Red Sox are at Tampa Bay on Monday. Yankees and Tigers in the Bronx. Yogi Berra in attendance. Bottom 6 rather. 3-3 tie, and Johnny Damon breaks it with a solo shot into the upper deck. Yankees win it 9-3 the final, so they pick up a game on the Red Sox. Now they're just 4 games back. David Smith homered in his 4th consecutive game as the Fisher Cats beat up on Binghamton 15-3 today. As far as the Pride goes, John Ramostella went 3 for 4 with an RBI, but New Jersey wins it 10-7. The Nextel Cup Series gets an unscheduled day off as the 3M Performance 400 at Michigan was rained out this afternoon. The race had been rescheduled for tomorrow at 12:30, although there's more rain in the forecast for Michigan on Monday as well, so we'll wait and see. Jeff Gordon will start on the pole. On a separate note, the topic of Dale Earnhardt Jr. leaving DEI has been a popular one. Earnhardt earlier this week, negotiations to take his number 8 along with him to Hendrick Motorsports broke down, so he'll be leaving it behind, leaving Junior disappointed.
When I walked away from DEI, I wanted no ties whatsoever, and if I was to get the 8 and allow Teresa to still have limited control over it, I'd still have to deal with her, and that was not what I wanted. Personally, I sort of planned for this. I've been in these negotiations with the same person before, and they never work out in your favor. I'm not going to sit here and get personal about this. The personal stuff is way far away from the racetrack. It's upsetting as hell, and unfortunate. I share sort of an identity with the 8, and you know, it just seems like it's the way it should be.
And other NASCAR news, Ricky Rudd said he plans to retire from the Nextel Cup Series after this season. The 50-year-old is in his 28th season as a full-time driver in the Cup Series. Rudd said he would consider a part-time ride for next year, but he's not pursuing it. Rudd has 23 victories in his career, and his 897 Cup starts are second only to Richard Petty. And don't forget about our Friday Night Football preseason kickoff special. It's live from the Queen City Jamboree on Friday night. We'll be live at Gill Stadium to kick off another season of Friday Night People. Friday Night People.
People are in it.
Friday Night Football. There are a lot of tired people in the Lakes region tonight. The Timberman Triathlon Festival wrapped up in Guilford today. We'll find out the winners next. The annual Timberman Triathlon took place this weekend in Guilford. The event includes a 1.2-mile swim across Lake Winnipesaukee, a 56-mile bike ride, and a 13.1-mile run. This year's winners were Simon Lessing of Colorado on the men's side, and Desiree Ficker of Texas was the top female finisher. The Revolution were in Kansas City tonight. Scoreless game into the 72nd minute when Joseph Smith, great cross to Taylor Twellman for the finish. His 10th goal of the season. The Revolution hang on to win it 1-0 over Kansas City.
Looks like they were kissing there.
It may have been.
I don't know. Looked fun. Okay. That wraps up this edition of News 9 Tonight. Thanks for watching. Have a great night, everyone.